generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are talking about Universal Studios Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights 2024. We went there recently on a trip to California where we also did the VIP tour. Check out our video on that, especially if you have any questions about the VIP tour. But this video, we are going to focus on our experience with the Horror Nights. So, what did we do? Have we done this before? One time we did this in Florida. We went to Universal Studios Orlando and we did the Horror Nights there with a standard admission pass. There's nothing extra added on to it. And what we learned from that experience is that even though we could have fit everything into that night, we barely would have fit everything into that night. We had like an hour left from what I remember, and we could have went to the last one, but our dogs were barking just because we had been on the trip for quite some time and doing 10 miles a day. So we went home. But looking at the hindsight on that, when we saw, that we wanted to do a trip to California and we were hoping to, get through everything, we decided to try out the Express Pass. At first, we were thinking about the VIP tour because we did the regular tour on one day. What if we did it on this one? And the price is what scared us away. Because if you want to do what they call the Rest in Peace tour, because it's Horror Nights, that's a minimum before taxes, $459 a person, which is insane in my opinion. So, if that's what you're into, great. Um, but what we went with is we went with the after 2 p.m. day night Universal Express Pass. That does start at $339 a person, but I can tell you that from what we did after taxes and whatnot, ours ended up being about $400 a person. And we were on the high end of things. Like we were looking at our trip and we were like, of course, it happens to be the day we want to go is the highest price. So, um, that's about what it'll max out at, is right around $400 a person, but it's not going to be a crazy lot cheaper with the other days. But so what that got you is you got to get in at 2 p.m. You essentially had a fast pass to the rides, and then once the time came for Horror Nights, you had the express pass to jump basically to the front of the line for each of those as well. One time each. That's important. Um, let's see.
And we got to get into the houses, some of them early at 5:30 instead of 7 p.m. If you go with the regular Horror Nights Express, you don't get to get into the houses early.
So the 2 p.m. thing is what helped us out there, right?
Absolutely.
So what did we experience with this ticket? Basically, so we recognize, there's some houses in the lower lot, there's some houses in the upper lot, and what happened is that they would periodically open. So there was two houses, or there was four houses, two in the upper, two in the lower, that opened right around that 5:30, 6 o'clock time frame. They kind of staggered them and then they gradually opened as time went on. And so what we did is we went to one of the houses that opened right away. We were in the lower lot. We went to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And also the weekend house opened at the same time. So we went to Texas Chainsaw, and then we hopped over to the weekend, and then there was two other ones down there, but they didn't open up until like 6 or 6:30. So we had to wait a little bit of time. We were able to get in line, but we still had to wait a couple of minutes for those to open. I think it was Dead Exposure and the Universal Monsters one, the Bloodlines.
Yeah, so the way this party worked is that there were 8 houses, 4 upper, 4 lower. Half of them opened at 5:30 for those who had the early access passes like we did. And the other ones, even though the party doesn't start till 7, 2 houses opened at 6:30, 2 houses opened at 6:45. And the tram opened, I think at either 6:30 or 6:45. I'm not sure exactly what time the tram opened because by the time we got there, it had already been open for a while.
Right. So, uh, with that being said, they periodically opened. We were able to jump right into the front of the line, experience everything. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and say what they were, because that's important, right? What houses were there? Um, so, like I said, we went to Texas Chainsaw first. There's a house inspired by The Weeknd. That's a music group that wanted to be a part of Horror Nights, and so they have been making their own. I think this was their second or third house that they've created themselves. Um, but then we went to Dead Exposure, which is a house that is themed to be kind of like an end of the world situation with zombies and whatnot. Then we went to Eternal Bloodlines, which is the next rendition of the Universal Monsters. And I think this kind of house is pretty intriguing, just because, you're taking an established IP with the Universal Monsters and they're making their own stories to go along with every year. I think that's really cool. It's something, in my opinion, that kind of brings you back every year because you want to know what the next chapter is. But yeah, that was our fourth one. And then
You
we
know,
went,
I just read the description of it and I did not realize quite what it was when we were there. And I think the description is pretty interesting. So I'm gonna add it to our video here. It says, join Saskia Van Helsing and the Bride of Frankenstein as they face off against Dracula's daughter and her monstrous alliance. And then that was featuring music by Slash. I didn't realize it was Dracula's daughter when we were watching that. I just saw, like a female vampire figure. So I think that's kind of neat. I wish I would have known that before I went.
I'm not sure I 100% picked up on that either. One cool thing about that house itself is it's where you actually go to it is in one of the the soundstage areas or whatever you want to call it, where they do filming and stuff. The one that it was in was the stage that they did a lot of these Universal monster movies back in the day. There's a whole bunch of posters all over the place saying what has been filmed in this building, and a lot of those were actually in that building. So then I believe we went to the tram, the horror tram after that, if I remember
Did you
correctly.
did you pick up on the oh, I'm not seeing it. The dead exposure?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, I
that's the
messed
one
up.
that's kind of like the apocalypse and zombies.
Right. Yep.
And then we went to the Terror Tram, which was called Enter the Blumhouse, which is basically one right after another experience from different movies from Blumhouse. And I thought personally that this was probably one of the most engaging parts of the whole tour, or not tour, the night, the event. And the reason why is because, you get off the tram, there's a whole bunch of us that got off the tram to get unloaded into this area. And there's a whole bunch of actors lined up that are creepy and they're from those films. I think it's basically Megan, The Purge, Black Phone, maybe one more. Oh yeah, Happy Death Day, I believe is what it's called.
Yep.
Um, whole bunch of characters from those movies, and I don't remember who was narrating. I want to say it was Megan, maybe, but they basically said like "get them," and then they like ran into the crowd as if they were trying to, chop you up and whatnot, and it really made the crowd be like, "Is this really what's happening?" And then they, ran away screaming. So I thought that was a really cool little thing. Um, But yeah, then you go through different sections that mirror these films, and some of them were good, some of them were kind of different because like the Megan one was basically just a bunch of stages with different scenes from Megan. You never really interacted with Megan's character, whereas when you go through the Purge area, there's people that are trying to like pretend smack you or trying to get in your grill. So there's a lot of different aspects depending on, what the movie was. I know for the Black Phone, there was an actor, trying to hand out the black balloons, and I did not approach him. But Sarah noticed that somebody went up there to grab the balloons, and the actor quickly pulled the balloons away and had a knife on the other side. So, some really cool interactions like that you just don't expect. There's also a photo opportunity with Norman Bates at the Psycho House, so that was pretty cool. Um, but ultimately, I think this was a very cool experience just to be a part of. I think it was the most engaging in a way. But so we did that, and then we went to the upper lot where we went to, let's see, I don't remember the exact order, I don't think, but we
I think we
went,
started with Insidious and then went to Ghostbusters.
oh, that's right, because they were right next to each other. So we went to Insidious, which was my favorite house. You can see it behind me. This is kind of like a greatest hits of the movies. It's not focusing on any one in particular, but I will say there was a heavy emphasis from the most recent movie, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. So it was a little disappointment that they were emphasizing so much on that one. But as a whole, I thought it was really cool to see all the creepy people from that franchise just trying to scare the crap out of you, especially like the Red Demon guy. There was the guy with the breathing thing. I don't remember what his name is. There's the old lady that's trying to get you every now and then. So lots of cool things from that movie. And from what I'm seeing on the internet, it's one of the favorites from a lot of other people as well. Then we went to Ghostbusters. In my opinion, that was kind of like the Bloodlines house where it wasn't incredibly scary. It was just more or less a cool experience. I don't really see the Ghostbusters movie being scary movies themselves. I see them as entertaining and sci-fi-ish. So that's kind of what I got from that house. Even Slimer, I think spits at you a couple of times, so that was kind of fun. I was like, did I really just get spit at? And then I got a whole bunch spit on my glasses, and I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely him spitting at us. Um, do you want to talk about the last two houses that we went to?
Yeah, so we also saw Monstruos 2, The Nightmares of Latin America. That one was my favorite house. Kind of the tagline for that one, it says three pesadillas millones de gritos. And so I Googled what that means, and it's three nightmares, millions of screams. So it kind of took you through some of the more traditional, maybe folklore type monsters. I know the creepiest one for me that was neat to see, but not really scary because it wasn't somebody jumping out at you. Was we walked past this like children's or toddler bed, and then all of a sudden you saw these giant hands, like nasty hands, come out from under it. I mean, these hands were like, I don't know, 3 feet wide, so clearly not like human, something monstrous, right?
They were huge.
Um, but like a monster under your bed, you know? So just playing into some of those fears, and you can see some of the characters behind me in my background for the video. But yeah, so that one I thought it was pretty neat. I did not see the first one. From what I've heard from what Jeremy's told me is that they've done kind of these Latin American folklore nightmare type monsters before, and they did really well. So this is like a sequel. That's why it's called number two. So I haven't seen the first one, but I thought this one was pretty cool. And then the last one I saw was A Quiet Place. So this one was kind of like Ghostbusters, I think, in that it was a little bit more story based, but also with jump scares added into it. A lot of it was fairly quiet aside from music. So for me, it was kind of annoying when the people behind us kept talking and yelling and screaming. Not screaming because they were scared, but just because they were horsing around. They weren't taking it seriously. They weren't, I don't know. They were being annoying. But the house itself I thought was pretty neat. There was a handful of times where there was an actor there telling you to like to be quiet because they were scared because there was something around the corner and then something would jump out at you. So you could kind of predict where the monsters were a little bit, but at the same time they were still creepy.
It was really cool to see like the monsters were big and they were practical effects. None of them were like digital screens. They were there and they were in your face, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I'm not even a huge fan of the Quiet Place movies, but I thought the house was very neat.
I think what a lot of these houses and the Terror Tram did really well was that these actors, to me at least, they seemed super trained. And what do I mean by that is there were so many times I had somebody swinging an axe or a sledgehammer or a bat or chainsaw or something, swinging it at me, and not once did I get hit. It was always like within inches. So they must practice that stuff a lot because they're there to scare you, not to hurt you. And the fact that none of them actually hit me like at all, like I never got touched, I thought that was pretty cool because you still get scared like you're about to get hit, but you don't actually get hit. I feel like they did a really good job with that. The last thing that we did on our tour, or not tour, I'm sorry, our horror nights, was the Purge show. Do you remember what that was? It was called something more fancy than just the Purge show. It's like the
Dangerous
Purge Black
Waters?
Waters or something like that.
I thought it was Dangerous Waters.
Dangerous Waters, thank you.
I could be wrong, but I thought that's what it was.
Would you like to cover that one?
Sure. I mean, basically, it took place in the Waterworld set, so they kind of used that as their backdrop. Um, but it was just a little, what I would say, short story in the Purge world where, one of the higher ups is trying to hide, and there a story plays out where you get to see people killing each other, quote unquote, where they're acting, and it was pretty gory, to be honest. Like when you see someone look like they're slicing someone, a blood packet would explode, and so I thought that was pretty cool. I don't want to ruin the plot twists in the show itself, but needless to say, if you enjoy The Purge and you enjoy seeing these practical effects, you probably will enjoy this show as well. Um, the last thing that we should probably talk about are
I
the
think
scare.
there's one more besides that. I forgot about it when I was until I was looking up the name of the Purge show. So you were right, it is the Purge Dangerous Waters, but we should also touch on Late Night with Chucky.
Oh yeah. I was going to talk about the scare zones, but there's that too. So Late Night with Chucky, from what I've read online, is not the most popular thing amongst people that went to horror nights, but it is an experience, and if you use the Express Pass, you definitely will have time to go and do it. Um, Basically, it is a Tonight Show setup, like if you're at a live, Jimmy Kimmel or whoever show, and you can submit questions for Chucky, which it's debatable. So Sarah thought that they were fake questions, like they were made by the people, the host himself, because no, they say the question and they say the name of who submitted it, and nobody admitted to submitting their questions. I submitted one question. It was very similar to one that they said, so mine wasn't read and my name wasn't called. Um, but I do believe that the questions were real, and then it eventually turns into uh, I forget how they ended the show. He like tries to kill the host or something.
Well, yeah, they touched on Volunteer and Chucky will tell you how he predicts your death to be. So then he comes up with an example of a crazy way that he would kill you or that you would die. But yeah, then I don't think he kills the host. I think it's just that he gets angry and then he disappears, and maybe the host does disappear after that too. I'm not entirely sure. I think I was too distracted by trying to figure out if they were real questions or not.
Yeah. The last thing we had was the scare zones. There was murder of crows, which that one was pretty cool because they had some really tall um, actors basically on stilts that were these huge crows walking around. There was a luchador section with a bunch of like zombie or just creepy wrestlers. And I think the last one was
They
like,
had they
oh,
had
a chain.
skull lords and chainsaw punks.
Which those were like right next to each other, so we had a hard time discerning which one was which. I just assumed the people with chainsaws was with the chainsaw crew and the others were part of the other crew. But yeah, there was a handful of themed foods and drinks that you could get. In my opinion, there was way more alcoholic drinks that were themed than there was food. We did not try any of the food because the one thing that I probably would have tried was on the other end of the park by the time we were done, and I did not want to walk all the way over there. So, we did not try any of the food at the event. But what I will circle back to is if you get just the regular admission, there's a chance that you'll get everything done in one night. There's no guarantee because if there's a lot more people there, the lines will be longer. But if you get the express pass like we did, then uh, I think you'll be able to get everything in one night, no problem. So just kind of weigh your options there. If you're thinking I have to go two separate nights to get everything in, just kind of take that money and funnel it into one night for Express. Unless you really want to be, in that atmosphere for 2 nights, then that's another thing. But I 100% think what we did was worth what we got out of it. And to be honest, it's because we started so early around like 5:30. I think after we did everything and we did some shopping, because like I bought there is a special vinyl that they have. Of course, there's t-shirts and whatnot there of all the different monsters, but there's an exclusive vinyl because Slash did the music for the Bloodlines house, and I bought the vinyl. So really cool. We haven't gotten a chance to listen to it yet, but the vinyl itself is really, really cool. It's even got print on the vinyl record itself. So uh, you will have plenty of time to get through everything. You'll have plenty of time to do some shopping for all the different merch. You'll have plenty of time to eat while you're there. There's lots of stuff to do. So that Express Pass, good option. The
Yeah, I think
tour, the
I
tour
think
I think would be too much.
I think the express pass was worth it. I think because we hadn't seen the Waterworld show during the day that we had the regular day in the park, it made it nice that we were able to get in at 2 o'clock. So we were able to hit that Waterworld show and the one last ride that we didn't have time for before. However, I think we easily could have done all of the houses on a regular express pass and not needed the early access at 5:30. Because if you think about it, that just meant we got to get into the houses about an hour and a half early. We saw the Purge show at the 10 o'clock showing, and then I think we were done after that, besides grabbing the vinyl. So we were back to the hotel by 11. Party doesn't close till 2, so if we hadn't had that early hour and a half, it just means we would have gotten back to the hotel maybe around 12:30, and we still would have had plenty of time left over for the horror nights aspect of it. So I don't think you really need the early access in order to get to everything. But also, take into account we're people who like to go from house to house to house. We don't really meander. We don't partake in like all the alcohol drinks and stuff. Not that, we think anything of those who do. It's just not something that we take the time to partake in. So if you're wanting time to kind of leisurely go from house to house, so you can have a few beverages and stuff, then you might need more time.
Yep, I would agree. Trying to think if there's really anything else that I need to add. I mean, It was fun. I can tell you that. If you enjoy scary things, this is definitely one of the probably top attractions during Halloween time to go and do. So I would recommend. And we've done it before, so of course we've enjoyed it before. Like it lives up to the money that you have to pay to get in. But I I don't think I would ever do the Rest in Peace tour. Yes, it's a guided tour to the houses. You get to learn different trivia from the guides, but man, the Express gets you right through everything. I'm pretty sure I don't need that extra guide for it. So. Now, the Universal VIP tour, like during the day, that's not Horror Nights, 100% worth it. I don't quite think I would say the same thing for the Rest in Peace tour, just because of how expensive it is. Like it's like an extra $100 to $200 on top of the one that we did. I'd rather pocket that money or go and buy some merch. Anything else you wanted to mention?
I just think it's interesting for that RIP tour. It does not include early event access. You don't even get there early like we did. Um, but they do get an exclusive backlot Halloween tour experience with a private VIP trolley and a gourmet dinner. So there's a couple things that they get you for to try to make it worth it, but I would agree. I don't think the RIP tour was really necessary. I don't feel like I missed out on anything.
No. But maybe that's for you. Who knows? But that is our discussion on our experience at Universal Studios Hollywood Horror Nights. I emphasize that's where we went because there are some houses that are different between Hollywood and Orlando. So sometimes people make their decisions on where they're going based on the houses. So check those out to make sure that they have the one that you are looking for. I'm pretty sure. Texas Chainsaw, I think, was exclusive to Hollywood, and I also think the Dead Exposure was. I don't know if there was any other ones, but I'm pretty sure those two were. Um, oh, there is one more thing I want to add here, and this is a big one, and it's a negative thing, unfortunately. So, and I am not the only person that has said this. There is other people online that have been saying this as well. So. Before we went, there's a couple of YouTubers that I watch that go and do all this stuff like day one and give their opinions. And I just kind of wanted to click through, maybe see a little bit of the houses and what was the experience. And what I noticed from our trip is that there was a good handful of things that I saw in their video that we did not see when we walked through the houses. And what we were piecing together, and actually what I saw today on Twitter, is that at times there is a staffing issue for these houses. So there's a chance that you'll go to the house and you'll see everything that it was supposed to be um, for each of the different rooms. There's a chance that you'll go in there and there are things that you will not see because they don't have enough actors in the house. Um, the thing I saw today was that the Bloodlines one was pretty empty for actors and they just basically saw a bunch of visuals and that's unfortunate. For us, two things that I know we definitely missed was in Dead Exposure, there's a room where a lot of the animals are starting to go crazy, and there was supposed to be like a huge gorilla that was like pounding on a human body, and that was never there. Also, in the Texas Chainsaw House, there was supposed to be a scene where the Texas Chainsaw character was gonna basically rip off a victim's face and then try to like shove or give it to one of the people that's walking by to kind of gross you out. That was not part of our experience. So it makes me wonder what other things in the other houses that we potentially missed as well. So that's a really bad issue, in my opinion. I feel like Universal should be able to create something where they can fully staff these things at all times. But I get it. That's life. Things don't always, go according to plan. But knowing that we missed out on some cool scenes, that's kind of depressing. But I just want to put that out there because it's not just us that is witnessing this, it's other people too.
Side note, back to your comment on what houses are at what Universal, so or at least what ones are exclusive to here. So both Hollywood and Orlando have A Quiet Place and Ghostbusters and Insidious. But only Hollywood has The Weekend, Texas Chainsaw, Dead Exposure is exclusive to there too, and the Monstrous one, because with a caveat to that one, okay? So Orlando has a Monstrous Latin America one, but that's listed as one nightmare, whereas this one is Monstrous 2 and it's listed as three nightmares. So
Hmm,
they have the same premise of being these Latin American monsters, but they are different.
interesting. Did you happen to know which were exclusive to Orlando?
Orlando actually has 10 houses, whereas Hollywood has only eight.
Well, we have
I
eight,
think
but we also have the tram tour.
yes. Yep. Thank you. So they both have eternal bloodlines, as well as the other ones that I mentioned. I said they have the monstrous one, but that's oh, I'm sorry. The Latin American monsters, it's three monsters, one nightmare is how there's that one is listed. So it is different than the one that we had. But I think I just messed up what was actually in there. But they have Slaughter Cinema 2. They have the Museum of Deadly Exhibits and Major Sweets Candy Factory. And then these are the last two. So they have Goblin's Feast and Triplets of Terror.
Oh
So
yeah,
quite a few
I
different ones.
I remember watching the video from the YouTubers that I like, and they went that triplets one was interesting because that was supposed to be like a family that um, generations ago, their family started a tradition of like killing certain people as a ritual, and it was just seeing the family generations of how they always did it, and that's kind of a crazy idea. So I thought that'd be cool. The cinemas one I think was interesting too, because I think that was kind of like going through different movies, like and experiencing different things. I know I'm describing it terribly, but it looked cool when I saw it on video.
So the Slaughter Cinema one, it says it's time for another horror movie marathon at the Cary Drive-In. Scream through scenes from creature features, grindhouse gore, and more. And that Triplets Terror one, it says you're invited to the Barmy, sorry, I thought it said Barney. You're invited to the Barmy Triplets birthday celebration, but their kind of party involves recreating the murder of their entire family, or the murders of their entire family.
Nice.
So definitely some interesting ones.
Yeah. So lots of things to pick from. It sounds like the main houses are the same between the two. Now, even though they're the same theme, it does not necessarily mean they're the exact same house. The couple that I watch on YouTube, I'll just name drop them, Ordinary Adventures. They always show the differences between the two. And they always, so once they go to one and they go to the next one, they normally say like which one they like better and what are some of the differences. So just because they have the same theme does not necessarily mean it's the exact same experience. So just kind of go, I don't know what I'm going to say, but just kind of do your research on which ones you want to do. Um, but I'm sure they're similar. Anything else you want to mention here about Horror Nights?
Go see it. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And even if you can't make it this year, I would recommend, even in the future years during Halloween time, there's a lot of time to pick from. I think they've branched into, I think it's either early September or late August that it starts, and then it trickles all the way to around Halloween. So lots of days that you could go, um, and just plan your vacation around it. So that was our discussion on Universal Studios Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights 2024. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Drops a like if you liked the video, and drops a comment letting us know If you've gone this year, what is your thoughts? And if you haven't, um, are you interested? Uh, what kind of things are you looking for? And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.